Okay, so I woke up early this morning to make this video because I wanted to watch the one and only Ivan to review it. And I've watched it, it's great, I don't have a script, all I have is my notes like my regular reviews. One and Only Ivan, I highly, highly recommend first of all. It's one of the better Disney Plus original movies that I've seen. It's definitely one of the best Disney live actions that I've seen in a long time. If you don't know what The One and Only Ivan is, it's based on a book about a gorilla who was held in a cage in a mall for 27 years. He was raised by humans and he wanted to be free in the wild, at least in the movie. And I won't get into spoilers right now, but if you've seen the book, you can watch it straight through. If you haven't read the book or haven't seen the movie yet, I will tell you when spoilers are, so don't worry. So let's get into the review first of all. So, Ivan is in a mall, and he's also in like a circus show with a bunch of other animals, like Henrietta, who is a chicken, Frankie, who is a seal, and he does like the beach ball, like on the nose thing, Murphy, who is a rabbit, and he drives around in like a little fire truck, Stella is the elephant, and Snickers, she's the poodle. And this movie did a really good job. I noticed it did a really good job of introducing the characters right away. All of them introduced. The poodle, Snickers, Stella, Murphy, Frankie, and Henrietta all introduced in like the first 10 minutes. So they did a good job with that. Also, Julia and George, who is her father, and he's an employee, and Mac, the owner of the show. So, very nice job by Disney on that one. And also right away, the show's in trouble. It's not pulling in people like it used to, and it's very run down a little bit. So, later on in the movie, to help that, they bring in an elephant named Ruby, but we'll get to that later. Julia loves Ivan. Her dad works there, so when he's off working, she's hanging out with Ivan, and one day she gives him crayons and paper for him to draw. And what he draws a beetle at first, and the dog, who is his best friend, who I forgot to mention earlier, sorry about that. He doesn't really have a name right now, but later we will get a name. So he draws a beetle. It looks like a beetle, a little bit. And then Julia draws the dog and names him Bob. And now the new animal, Ruby, is coming in. So I'm just trying to fly through this overview of the movie. The new animal is Ruby. Ruby is now the headliner, and kind of like Buzz and Woody, Ivan gets a little bit jealous, if you would say. It's kind of stealing Ivan's spotlight a little bit. This is a spoiler, so I won't say it now, but I will say it in a little bit. That's a spoiler also. Ivan tells Julia, or not Julia, sorry, Ruby, a story about his childhood and how he was raised by Mac, and he also tells a story later on in the movie about how he was captured by poachers, or not poachers, but he was captured by someone, and then he went to live with Mac. Now Mac is trying to incorporate I keep saying Julia, Ruby, into the circus show. The next thing I'm about to say is some spoiler talk. So we'll get into the spoiler overview right now. So go to the time marker on the screen if you don't want to see the spoilers. So in the book and the movie, Stella the elephant passes away, and right before she dies, she tells Ivan that she wants Ruby to have a better life than hers, and that Ivan needs to make sure that Ruby gets in the wild. And Ivan keeps that promise and tries to break all the animals out. So he locks a guard in his cage, which later that guard gets fired. But all the animals are set free, and the way the mall is set out, here's the mall and then here's some woods. So he thinks if we just go over the wilds over there, and the woods are the wild. So he goes over and he finds the other side of the woods is just suburban. It's not what he thought it was. So they get taken back to the mall. Julia gives Ivan paint, like color paint, and Mac's very upset that the animals tried to get out, and he tells Julia's dad that the press does not need to know about this because the press will let it out, and then the show will get canceled, and the mall will they'll take away all the animals. So they find out that Ivan can draw, because he draws a painting, he draws something for Julia, and then Julia shows it to Mac, and then Mac decides that the painting Ivan is the way to go to save his show. So what he does is he puts the drawing Ivan in his show. And Ivan doesn't really like this idea, so the first time that Ivan is the headliner again, he just walks off stage. And Mac gets really upset. The second time, there is a news reporter there that is asking them about the animal breakout and why, how do you know any information about this? And Mac says no. Ivan draws an absolutely amazing painting, and it's the painting of the wild, and Julia knows that Ivan wants to be in the wild. They know that the animals are not supposed to be here anymore, so Julia tells the reporter, and then the story gets, everywhere in the media, and the animals are taken away from the mall. He was taken to Zoo Atlanta in real life, but in here they don't tell you where he goes. He just goes to a relocation center, because animals that are bred with humans, or not bred with humans, but live with humans for all their life, they can't really live in the wild because they don't know how to survive. So they take him there, and they take Henrietta, Frankie, Murphy. They take all the animals, but Ivan and Bob, he doesn't go. He just takes off, and we don't really know what happened to Bob. But Ruby and Ivan get relocated to the same place, and when he sees Ruby for the last time, right before the movie ends, he looks up to the sky and says, "Stella, I kept the promise." And then the movie ends. So, welcome back everyone that didn't want spoilers. There aren't really big spoilers in here. I mean, I guess the one big thing is that, which I mentioned. I won't mention it because spoiler people don't want it. But this movie really is really good. Didn't really know what I was going to say there, but it's really good, and especially if you love animals, this is the movie for you, because I love animals. What makes it so good is the ending, because it tells you what happened to the real Ivan, which I will explain in a little bit, and then it says, and then in the movie, it shows you what happened to the movie Ivan, and it just brings it all together. I mean, it's a happy ending. I love happy endings. There's a really touching scene with Ivan and Mac, his owner, that says, it's something about, I'm not directly quoting, but he says, "We had some good times, kid." And it's really touching, and at the end, they show what happened to the real Ivan. So in 1962, Ivan was born, and he was captured, and he lived with humans until he was big enough and then he had to be put in a cage inside a mall, which he lived there for 24 or 27 years. And that's not how an animal should live. I don't care if... Now, pets, that's a different story, but if you're breeding, if you have a gorilla in your house, or a tiger, or a lion, or even a snake, you shouldn't have those as pets. Dogs and cats are fine, hamsters, they can't really live on their own in the wild. But you have an animal that could live in the wild, you have to relocate it. There's no reason that a gorilla should be kept in a cage for 27 years in a mall. So what happened to the real Ivan is that he was kept in the mall, and then there was a huge protest outside of the mall to relocate Ivan, which they were successful in relocating him, and they relocated him to Zoo Atlanta. He was relocated there, which in 1994, and he lived there for the rest of his life, which is an amazing story. And I forget when I read the book, but I loved the book, and I was really excited for this movie, and it really delivered. And I usually don't do this, but I give this movie a 7 out of 10. Because it wasn't, no movie is perfect. No movie is perfect at all. And I can't really think of a bad reason to not watch this movie. I did see a little bit, and this is just really picky, but there was one point in the movie where the animation was looking a little rough. Like, it was like, oh, that's a little too superimposed. But that's just me being picky. And I don't get why they didn't relocate the other animals to the location where Ivan and Ruby was. Because if you're going to relocate them anyway, relocate them with Ivan and Ruby, and then you have the whole gang back together. And also, the dog, Bob, I didn't really know why. I think it would have been better if Bob went with Mac. If Mac had 2 dogs then, because the poodle was Mac's dog. I wish Bob had a home, he just wasn't a stray. Like, there really wasn't any character development with that character, except Danny DeVito did a good job with Bob. There really wasn't any character arc there, it was just, he's a stray. Now what? He's a stray for the entire movie. He's not like Ivan, where he lives in a cage and then he gets relocated to the wild. He's a stray. Alright? That's a boring character. At least for me. But go watch this movie for yourself. If you agree with me, that's fine. If you don't, tweet at me, at Dolip71. Let me know what you think about the movie. Or comment down below. Also, while you're down there, give a like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed this review. I really try to look at the good parts and bad parts, and again, I don't have a script, so I do terrible when I don't have a script. That's why I script all my videos. And this was out of the blue. I didn't even realize that I was going to make a video today. So, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Have a magical day.